The sun rose gently over the hills of Canaan, casting warm light across the land Israel had just begun to inherit. The ruins of Jericho still stood behind them, silent, broken, a testimony to the power of God and the obedience of his people. The memory of the walls collapsing still echoed in their hearts. The victory had been total, miraculous, unforgettable. Israel walked with confidence now, not in themselves, but in the God who had fought for them. Joshua stood outside his tent, watching the camp awaken. Children laughed as they fetched water. Warriors sharpened their blades, preparing for the next step in the conquest. Priests tended to the sacred things of God. The people were united, hopeful, and full of expectation. But beneath the surface hidden, quiet, unseen something dark had taken root, something that would soon shake the nation to its core. Joshua did not yet know it. No one did, but God knew, and the land itself seemed to hold its breath. After Jericho's fall, Joshua sent men to scout the next city Ai, a small settlement nestled among the hills. Compared to Jericho, Ai was insignificant. Its walls were modest, its army small. The scouts returned with confidence. "Do not send all the people," they said. 2,000 or 3,000 men will be enough. Do not weary the whole army. Ai is nothing compared to Jericho. Joshua nodded. It seemed reasonable, logical, efficient. But something was missing, something Joshua had always done before every major decision. He had not sought the Lord. He had not asked for God's direction. The victory at Jericho had been so overwhelming, so divine, that perhaps Joshua assumed God's favor was automatic. But favor is not a blanket. It is a relationship. And something had broken that relationship. Joshua gathered 3,000 men and sent them toward Ai. The warriors marched with confidence, expecting another swift victory. But as they approached the city, something unexpected happened. The men of Ai rushed out with surprising strength, striking fear into the hearts of Israel's warriors. Panic spread. Confusion erupted. Israel turned and fled. 36 men fell that day, 36 lives lost in a battle they should have easily won. When the survivors returned to camp, their faces pale, their voices trembling, the news spread like wildfire. Israel had been defeated. Israel, the nation God had promised to protect. Israel, the people who had just seen Jericho crumble. Israel running from a small city like Ai. The hearts of the people melted. Fear gripped them. Doubt whispered through the camp. Had God abandoned them? Had his promise failed? Had they done something wrong? Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down before the Ark of the Covenant. The elders joined him, sprinkling dust on their heads, mourning the defeat. Joshua cried out to God, his voice filled with anguish. "O Lord, why did you bring this people across the Jordan only to deliver us into the hands of our enemies? What can I say now that Israel has turned its back and fled? The Canaanites will hear of this and surround us. What will become of your great name?" Joshua's cry was honest, raw, desperate. And God answered not with comfort, but with truth. "Stand up," the Lord said. "Why are you lying on your face? Israel has sinned. They have taken what was devoted to destruction. They have stolen, lied, and hidden it among their belongings. That is why Israel cannot stand before their enemies. I will not be with you unless you remove what is cursed." Joshua's heart sank. Sin, hidden sin. Someone had taken from Jericho what God had forbidden. Someone had brought a curse into the camp. And because of one man's secret disobedience, the entire nation suffered. Joshua rose, trembling with the weight of God's words. He gathered the people and spoke with solemn authority. Consecrate yourselves. Tomorrow the Lord will reveal who has done this thing. The camp grew silent. Families whispered. Hearts pounded. No one knew who it was, but God knew. Morning came. The tribes assembled. Joshua stood before them, his face set with determination. The Lord guided the process, tribe by tribe, clan by clan, family by family, until the circle tightened around one man, Achan, son of Carmi. Achan stood trembling, his face pale, his eyes filled with fear. Joshua looked at him with sorrow. "My son," he said gently, "give glory to the Lord. Tell me what you have done." Achan's voice broke as he confessed. "I saw a beautiful Babylonian robe, 200 shekels of silver, and a bar of gold. I wanted them. I took them. They are hidden in my tent, buried beneath the ground. Desire, temptation, secrecy, a moment of weakness that had cost Israel a battle and 36 lives. Joshua sent men to Achan's tent. They found the stolen items exactly where he said, buried beneath the earth, hidden in darkness. They brought them before the Lord, laying them out for all to see. The weight of the sin hung heavy in the air. Justice had to be done. The curse had to be removed. Israel gathered in the valley of Achor, the valley of trouble. Achan and all he possessed were brought there. The people watched with solemn hearts as judgment fell. It was a painful moment, a sobering reminder that God's holiness is not to be taken lightly. The valley echoed with sorrow, but when it was over, the curse was lifted, the relationship restored, God's favor returned. Joshua stood in the valley long after the people had left, the wind whispering through the rocks. He felt the weight of leadership, the cost of hidden sin, the importance of obedience. But he also felt something else, God's presence returning steady and sure. The Lord spoke again. "Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you and go up to Ai. I have delivered the city into your hands." This time Joshua listened. This time he sought God's strategy. And God gave him a plan brilliant, unexpected, divinely orchestrated. Joshua set an ambush behind the city, while another group approached openly from the front. When the men of Ai rushed out to attack, Israel pretended to flee as before. Ai's warriors chased them, leaving the city unguarded. At that moment Joshua raised his spear signal to the ambush. The hidden warriors rose, entered the city, and set it ablaze. Smoke rose into the sky. The men of Ai turned and saw their city burning. Panic seized them. Israel surrounded them from both sides. The battle turned. The victory was complete. Joshua stood with his spear raised high, the flames of Ai reflecting in his eyes. This victory was different from Jericho. Jericho had fallen by miracle. They had fallen by strategy. But both victories came from the same source, the God who leads his people, who restores after failure, who turns defeat into triumph when hearts return to him. As the sun set over the valley, Joshua gathered the people. He built an altar to the Lord. He read the words of the law aloud, every blessing, every warning, every promise. The people listened with renewed reverence. They understood now. Obedience was not optional. Holiness mattered. Hidden things mattered. God's presence mattered more than anything. And as the stars emerged over the hills of Canaan, Israel rested not in their strength, but in the faithfulness of the God who forgives, restores, and leads his people from victory to victory. If this narration touched your spirit, I invite you to subscribe, like, and share so more people can experience these cinematic biblical stories brought to life.